students, सुप्रभात सभी को. As we have moved to the third part of our chapter Rise of Nationalism in Europe, तो ये जो चैप्टर है इसके थर्ड पार्ट पे पहुंच गए हैं हम. पहले दो पार्ट्स को हम पहले रिवाइज कर चुके हैं. आई होप कि आप सब लोगों ने वो दोनों वीडियोस देखे होंगे और इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स मार्क किए होंगे. असाइनमेंट भी कंप्लीट कर लिया होगा. So let's move on to the third part of our topic of our chapter, that is the making of nationalism in Europe or the rise of nationalism in Europe. So making of nationalism in Europe, इसमें हमें पढ़ना है कि नेशनलिज्म कैसे कैसे अराइज हुआ. हमने बैकग्राउंड देख लिया, हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड देख लिया. तो अब हम बात करेंगे रेवोल्यूशनरीज़ की. वैसे तो हम बहुत सारे लोगों की बात कर चुके हैं. फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन ने कैसे इंस्पायर किया नेशनलिज्म के आने में यूरोप में. तो जैसे ही लिबरल नेशनलिज्म की जो फीलिंग थी वो कंजर्वेटिव्स ने जब सप्रेस की नेपोलियन के हारने के बाद 1815 में, तो उस कहानी से आगे चलते हैं. उसके बाद जो फीलिंग सप्रेस की, उस फीलिंग के सप्रेस करने के बाद रेवोल्यूशनरीज़ आए. जो लोग ऑप्रेस थे, सप्रेस थे, जिनको लग रहा था कि ये जो कंजर्वेटिव्स हैं इन्होंने सारा आइडिया जो है वो ये फेल करना चाहते हैं, तो उस आइडिया को दोबारा से ग्रो करने के लिए, उस आइडिया पर चलने के लिए इन्होंने रेवोल्यूशनरीज़ आए. रेवोल्यूशनरीज़ और कोई नहीं बल्कि वही लोग थे जो लिबरल नेशनलिज्म चाहते थे, जो एक नेशन चाहते थे वेयर अ नेशन शुड बी कलेक्टिव एंड यूनाइटेड. द नेशन शुड हैव common belongingness, shared culture, heritage, etc. So what did the revolutionaries do? What was their role in the nationalism in Europe? The liberal nationalists formed secret societies. As you all know that the conservatives punished the people who put this demand of nationalism and etc. So for that the revolutionaries formed secret societies, secret political clubs, so that they can discuss what could be their course of action in bringing nationalism and liberalism to Europe. They opposed monarchical forms of government. Formation of nation state as a necessary part of their freedom struggle. So the revolutionaries had a common objective, common goal, that their nation state could bring liberalization and freedom for all the people living in Europe. Let's move forward. Here we will talk about the most popular revolutionary, that is Giuseppe Mazzini. He was a person who was active in whole of Europe and in particular in Italy. We will read about him further in the topic unification of Italy. Now we will have a small introduction of what he was, who he was, and what he did. So Giuseppe Mazzini, as you can see one of his pictures, he was a great revolutionary who inspired the Italian people as well as people from all over the Europe. So he was a member of the secret society of Carbonari. He himself was sent into exile in 1831 while attempting a revolution in Liguria. And then when he came back from exile, he founded two famous underground societies, that is, one is Young Italy in Marseille and another is Young Europe in Bern. He believed that Italy must be unified into a nation and it could not be a patchwork of small states ruled by different kind of rulers having different identities. He wanted Italy to be a nation, a collective nation, a united nation, and all other European nations as collective and strengthened nation states where freedom of expression, freedom of speech, equality before law, equality in voting, etc. must be there. This unification could be the only basis for Italian liberation. ये liberation जो है ये freedom है. किस चीज़ से freedom चाहते हैं? बार बार liberation शब्द आ रहा है. This liberation word is coming. So they wanted freedom from the slavery. They wanted freedom from the exploitation done by the monarch. So they wanted a government of the people. So Metternich once famously described Giuseppe Mazzini as the most dangerous enemy of social order. सबसे खतरनाक दुश्मन अगर कोई सोशल ऑर्डर का है, किस सोशल ऑर्डर की बात कर रहे हैं? जिसमें फर्स्ट स्टेट, सेकंड स्टेट और थर्ड स्टेट यानी कि नोबल क्लर्जी, नोबिलिटी और कॉमन पीपल आते हैं. ये हम पढ़ चुके हैं पिछले पार्ट में. नाउ कमिंग ऑन टू द एज ऑफ रेवोल्यूशंस, लिबरलिज्म एंड नेशनलिज्म वर बीइंग एसोसिएटेड विद रेवोल्यूशन. तो लिबरलिज्म और नेशनलिज्म ही वो व्यूज थे जो किसके साथ एसोसिएट हुए? रेवोल्यूशन के. बिकॉज द रेवोल्यूशनरीज वांटेड अ चेंज इन सोसाइटी, फ्रीडम फ्रॉम मोनार्की. So liberal nationalists led many revolutions in different parts of Europe. They freed Greek. They established a constitutional monarchy in France, Poland, Germany, and many other countries, or you can say parts, areas were liberated. Middle class men such as teachers, professors, clerks, etc. took part in these revolutions. So generally, and the third state people, that is the common people who were professionals, who were doctors, lawyers, etc., they were being exploited by the clergy and the nobility. So necessarily the third state people, or you can say the common people like teachers, professors, clerks, took part in the revolutions. So the first revolution which took place was in France in July 1930. Revolutionaries established a constitutional monarchy under Louis Philippe. So revolutionaries have established a constitutional monarchy in France, and though the monarch was there, but the rule of the nation was seen over, or you can say managed by a constitution. So as in modern day also we have a constitutional monarchy in Britain, where the king is symbolic and all the work which is done, or the queen is symbolic, and all the work which is done is in the name of the constitution or according to the rules and regulations of the constitution. Metternich once remarked about France that when France sneezes, rest of Europe catches cold. So this phrase means that जब फ्रांस में कोई घटना होती है या फ्रांस में कोई क्रांति होती है तो उसका असर सारे यूरोप पर देखा जाता है और यूरोप के बाकी कंट्रीज भी उसी तरीके की एक्टिविटीज़ में इन्वॉल्व हो जाते हैं. नेक्स्ट इज द एज ऑफ रेवोल्यूशन में अब हमें पढ़ना है क्या? हमें ये देखना है कि जो ग्रीस है और जो ग्रीक लोग हैं वो काफ़ी एंशिएंट सिविलाइजेशन है, उसकी तरफ काफ़ी आशा से सभी लोग देखते हैं. तो इसीलिए जो ग्रीक रेवोल्यूशन हुआ इंडिपेंडेंस के लिए ऑटोमन एम्पायर से, ऑटोमन एम्पायर जिसको आज हम मेजरली टर्की के नाम से जानते हैं, वो एक मुस्लिम एम्पायर था रूल्ड बाय मुस्लिम रूलर्स. तो ग्रीस जो है वो उससे अलग होना चाहता था, तो इसके लिए उन्होंने 1821 में एक रेवोल्यूशन स्टार्ट किया. अ रेवोल्यूशन वाज स्टार्टेड फॉर द ग्रीक्स इंडिपेंडेंस इन 1821. Greek War of Independence inspired many other European nations to start a revolution for nationalism. तो राष्ट्रवाद के लिए और बहुत सारी क्रांति स्टार्ट करने के लिए इंस्पायर किया ग्रीस ने, क्योंकि ग्रीस हिस्टोरिकली बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट है, बहुत पुरानी सिविलाइजेशन है, सभी यूरोप के लोग उसको बहुत ज़्यादा मानते हैं. ग्रीस वॉज डिपिक्टेड एज क्रेडल ऑफ यूरोपियन सिविलाइजेशन. फाइनली आफ्टर द ट्रीटी ऑफ Constantinople in 1832, the Greece was recognized as an independent nation. तो कॉन्स्टेंटिनोपल के ट्रीटी के बाद ग्रीस को एक आज़ाद देश के रूप में जाना जाने लगा, जो कि हुई 1832 में. द रोमांटिक इमेजिनेशन एंड नेशनल फीलिंग, इसमें जो रोमांटिक पोएट्स थे, सो देयर वर टूल्स विच वर यूज्ड बाय पोएट्स, actors, dramatists, singers, etc. to depict nationalism, the feeling of nationalism in Europe. Let's see what were the major tools which were used by them to inspire the people to revolutionize for bringing liberation and national unity. So for the same they used art and poetry. They also used They used stories and plays. They also used folk song and music. Another thing which they used was the shared cultural heritage and common cultural past, because most of the people have struggled in some way or the other and was exploited in some way or the other by the higher classes. Another is the use of vernacular language and folklore. What do you understand by vernacular language? A language which is spoken by the common people. Generally, when you see about history of India also, the elite class spoke Sanskrit, whereas the common people generally spoke Prakrit. In the same manner, there were regional dialects and languages which were there in different parts of Europe, while the elite class generally spoke French. Moving further, there was a great economic problem, or you can say economic depression, in Europe in the 1830s, popularly known as hunger, hardship and popular revolt. So there was hunger, there was problems, and after that there was a revolt, or you can say revolution. So what happened during the great economic hardship of 1830? There was increased unemployment as the population was growing very fast, but there was no jobs for the people. Cities developed overcrowded slums due to large scale migration. तो बहुत सारा माइग्रेशन हो रहा था विलेजेस से सिटीज़ में, यानी कि लोग जॉब्स के लिए सिटीज़ में आ रहे थे, पर वहाँ पे उनको जगह नहीं मिल रही थी रहने की, और या फिर उनको जॉब नहीं मिल रही थी, तो वो बस्तियों में, झुग्गी झोपड़ियों ऐसे टाइप के जगहों में रहते थे, where they had no facilities of clean drinking water or good transportation or sanitation, etc. So small producers faced a stiff competition from industrialized goods. जो small producers थे वो industrialized goods से उनको बहुत ज़्यादा competition face करना पड़ रहा था, क्योंकि industrialized goods कम समय में बहुत ज़्यादा मात्रा में बनाए जा सकते हैं और बहुत ही कम लोगों को वहाँ employ करते हैं, क्योंकि मशीनों से बनती हैं सारी चीज़ें. So it was very difficult to face this competition from the industrialized goods, while the industrialized goods were also very cheaper as compared to the handmade goods or the goods made by small industrialists. There was rise in food prices and bad harvest, which led to pauperism. Pauperism is a situation where you become poorest of poor. It means that you are not even able to get food twice. यानी कि बहुत ज़्यादा गरीबी, बहुत ज़्यादा दरिद्रता आ गई थी यूरोप में. In 1848, a national assembly proclaimed a republic in France. So, इन सभी प्रॉब्लम्स को झेलते हुए, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट की, पुअर सैनिटेशन की, अनअवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ फूड की, लैक ऑफ फूड की, एक्सेट्रा, इन सभी प्रॉब्लम्स के साथ में एक रेवोल्यूशन स्टार्ट हुआ 1848 में, वेयर फ्रांस वॉज प्रोक्लेम्ड एज अ रिपब्लिक बाय द नेशनल असेंबली. सो now there will be no monarch in France, and the National Assembly, according to the wishes of the people, will rule France. Voting rights were also given to all adult males about 21 years of age. तो सभी पुरुषों को जो 21 साल से ऊपर के थे उनको वोट करने का अधिकार मिल गया था. National workshop were established to increase unemployment. तो जो देश की सरकार थी, जो नेशनल असेंबली थी, उन्होंने नेशनल वर्कशॉप्स एस्टैब्लिश किए ताकि जो आम लोग हैं, जो गरीब लोग हैं, उनको एम्प्लॉयमेंट दी जा सके. मूविंग ऑन टू द लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ अवर दिस सेक्शन ऑफ द चैप्टर, आई विल गिव यू सम क्वेश्चंस ऑफ असाइनमेंट. ओनली दोज क्वेश्चंस which of the topics which we have learned. So let's move on. Let's see. What were the problems faced by Europe during the economic depression of 1830s? Question number 2. When did the National Assembly proclaimed a republic in France? Question number 3. Explain the tools used by Romanticism poets and writers to develop the feeling of nationalism in Europe. Question number 4. Which treaty marked Greece as an independent nation? Question number 5. Whose struggle for independence in 1821 inspired other areas of Europe to start a revolution? Question number 6. When and where did the first revolution for nationalism took place in Europe? Question number 7. Who famously remarked, when France sneezes, rest of Europe catches cold? And the last question, who was described as the most dangerous enemy of social order by Metternich also name the two secret societies formed by that person. Thank you and have a nice day.